almost live on okay, great. Yay, we're live now. We're live across TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. We're very excited to be here with you guys. Today, the topic is a very exciting topic. We're going to be discussing marriage fraud. Let me take this charger off of TikTok. I'm sorry. Oop. Okay, so today's video is entitled Red Flags, Green Cards. If you guys don't know, we already have an ebook on this topic. We're going to be looking at marriage fraud, what marriage fraud is. We're going to be looking at a fraud referral sheet that we got our hands on from USCIS, what they've been using to refer people into the fraud unit. Okay, so if you apply for a green card case, there are certain things that they will be looking at, and if you happen to meet those red flags, or you happen to box check or check box all those things that are red flags, then you okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so I've been told to adjust that a little bit. I'm sorry, I hear there's an echo in my voice. I'm not sure what's going on. That is quite unfortunate. I'll have to check that later on. No idea what to do at this point. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. So today we're going to be discussing marriage fraud. And if you want to see the slides that we have to make it really interactive, the slides are being shown on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'm not sure why there's an echo. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me? If you guys can hear me, please just drop an emoji for me. Drop an emoji if you can hear me well. If there is an echo, just also drop another emoji. Something like a thumbs down. Well, not a thumbs down, no. Like a thumbs up to the echo, and another emoji like a flag or something for no echo. I have no idea why there's an echo. Okay, let's get started because we don't have too much time today. So again, you're welcome to this live video. We'll be discussing marriage fraud. I hope everyone is doing well. Guys, drop me the emoji. Let me know if you guys can hear me. If there is an echo, drop me a thumbs up. If there is no echo, just drop another type of emoji. I'm not sure why. Some people seem to hear the echo, others don't hear an echo. Okay. All right, let's get started now. Let me know where you guys are connecting from, and then let me just start sharing my screen with everyone. Okay, let me know if you guys can see the screen. I think Instagram and TikTok, they cannot see it, but we will be representing on that behalf. Okay, so marriage fraud issues. Here's how to avoid a Stokes referral. You guys know, if you are here in the United States and you are trying to, you're getting married to a US citizen or a green card holder so that you can get, an immigration benefit, or you're not getting married to them so that you can get an immigration benefit, but you're married to them and you have applied for a US immigration benefit, like a green card, right? A green card. Immigration wants to be sure that your marriage is not a transactional marriage or where you paid money just to get a green card. So they look into it and they can investigate your marriage. And if your marriage is investigated, it means that USCIS, the department that's adjudicating, will forward your case to the FDNS, the fraud unit, and they are going to conduct a lot of investigations into your case. But before they do that, what they do is that they will give you something known as a Stokes interview or a marriage fraud interview. Okay. And during that interview, that's when they're going to separate the couple. And then, the things you've heard about, okay, what did she eat for breakfast? Where do you keep your toothbrushes? Where's the Christmas tree? Is there a basement? How many televisions? How many computer devices are in your home, how many floors, where does your window face, all these questions about your daily lives, how you live. They will separate you guys, put you in two separate rooms, ask you a series of about 100 questions each, and then they will the same questions. Husband gets the same question, wife gets the same question. So the husband, if let's say he is a US citizen, he'll get 100 questions, exact same order, same questions. Wife gets it in a separate room, and then they will compare the answers. And if there are a lot of discrepancies, or the discrepancies make them raise their eyebrows, then they can start investigating some more into your marriage to determine whether or not there's truly marriage fraud. Remember that, number one, in order to get a green card through marriage, you need to show that at the time you entered into the marriage, it was for the intent was to establish life together and not only to procure a US immigration benefit. There's something really exciting I'll be sharing with you guys towards the end of this video. So please stay tuned. It's a very exciting topic and I'm really happy to be here. So let's get into it. Now let's move on to the next slide. There's a primary purpose test. As I've been telling you guys, there is a primary purpose test. That primary purpose test, and I'll be taking questions at the end of the video, so stay tuned so that you can ask all your questions. Don't forget to share the live video. This is a really important live video, and you never know. You could have somebody who has a problem and they are not willing to tell you, but if you share the video, they could see it and then they could get help at the right place. So share this video, share the video. Okay, so the primary purpose test, a marriage that is entered into, the primary purpose is to circumvent immigration laws, is referred to as a fraudulent or sham marriage. I'm sorry, I don't know why the reading is okay. So a marriage that is entered into with the primary purpose of circumventing immigration laws is referred to as a fraudulent or sham marriage. This has been recognized as enabling an alien spouse to obtain immigration benefits. Matter of Maki, I'm not sure why it's not reading well. I don't know if I'm not reading it well or there's something I'm missing. Okay, all right, let me go again. So the primary purpose test. So a marriage that is entered into the primary purpose of circumventing immigration laws, referred to as fraudulent or sham marriage, has not been recognized as enabling an alien spouse to obtain immigration benefits. So simply put, if you enter into the marriage with the primary purpose or the primary objective of getting around immigration laws, then it's referred to as a fraudulent or a sham marriage. It's not a bona fide or a genuine marriage. And if they recognize that this is the case, then you cannot get an immigration benefit, such as a work permit, a travel permit, a green card, or whatever. Okay, let's move on to the next. So they do the primary purpose test. What is the primary purpose of the marriage? Why did you enter into this marriage? And we're coming, there's this really funny thing I found. You guys will love it. So stay tuned. I'll discuss that with you. And then you'll figure out how to say yes or no to a proposal to make sure that you are not involved in a marriage fraud finding. Okay, so what is the central question? The central question is whether the bride and groom intended to establish life together at the time they were married. This was stated in the case of Bach versus INS. And so that's what the central test or central question is. Did you intend to establish life together? So you meet a man at a party and then, you guys hit it off. Things are going really nice for both of you. You are interested in him, he's interested in you. And at the beginning of the marriage, you guys, you have the hots for each other and you determine that you want to date each other. Now, let's say 3 weeks down the line, the guy tells you, the girl is a US citizen, guy says that, hey, I don't have papers. And then girl says, look, I'll help you. But this 3 weeks, the 3 weeks of getting to know each other, it's been like, okay, how can we move forward with a relationship? What do you like? What do I like? Can we get married? Things like that. In that situation, that's fine, right? Because the central question is that at the time you guys met, in some of the cases, they'll say at the time you guys were married, or at the time you guys met, what was the intention? If the intention was to just get to know each other, love on each other, date each other, get married to each other, and then green card came down the line, that's fine. But for some other people, when they meet, their intention is not to date each other or marry each other. They meet, maybe somebody introduced them. They're like, okay, this person has a green card or is a US citizen, can apply for you. So they meet for the first time and it's a transactional relationship. Okay, $30,000, give me $30,000. We're going to pay in 3 installments and then we're going to get married at the courthouse next week. That is a transactional relationship because there's no intention to live together or to establish life together. So that's the central question that immigration is going to be asking once they adjudicate your application, right? So if you apply, again, I say this a lot. USCIS, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, that's the federal agency that is responsible for adjudicating these affirmative applications. They will review, they'll have an adjudications officer who will review your application. Remember that they are reviewing hundreds of thousands of applications. So it's not just about who is married to who. They go beyond that. They want to see that there was that intention to establish life together when you guys got married or when you guys met. Okay. And so if it's a transactional marriage, usually there's a lot of red flags that show that this is a transactional marriage. Some people are able to get away with it, many others not so. So yeah, just take note of that. That's a central question they are going to be asking. Now, one main consideration along the line, if they are trying to, elicit or determine whether your marriage is a marriage fraud, is the conduct of the parties after the marriage. That has been determined to be relevant to their intent at the time of the marriage, right? Because the officer wasn't there when you guys, met to determine or to ascertain what your intentions, your respective intentions for the marriage was. But the conduct after the marriage is relevant to determining what the intention was at the beginning. So if after the marriage you don't live together, you're in the same city, same state, and you don't live together, that's one major red flag. Unless, of course, you have some extenuating circumstances. Maybe one is living with mom who's sick and the other has something. Maybe the other has a child with disability and has to be close to work or whatever. You have to be able to explain it if you don't live together, for example. But your conduct after the marriage is relevant to determining your intent. Okay. Now, if after the marriage, you spend Christmas alone with your family and your spouse spends it alone, Thanksgiving alone with your family, your spouse spends it alone. All these types of conduct can show to immigration that the intention at the time you guys entered into the marriage was not to establish life together. It was to evade US immigration laws or to just get a green card. And that is what they will be doing during their investigations. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. So there's some good types of evidences that you can submit to establish a good marriage or a bona fide marriage for US immigration purposes. First is proof that beneficiary has been listed on petitioner's spouse. I'm sorry. Proof that the beneficiary has been listed as the petitioner's spouse on insurance policies. Property leases, you are on property leases together. There's income tax forms, bank accounts, joint names. There's testimony or other evidence regarding courtship. That's very important. That's one of the main things that we also use. Text messages, Amazon account information, like love messages, social media messages, if it's relevant. And again, you don't just want to submit these things in vacuum, okay? It has to be within a context. It has to be within a context. If you go and submit something, it's very hard to say, oh, please don't, I take it back. Don't look at it. I recall the evidence or I'm withdrawing it. It's already gone on your record. So you want to be careful with these things. The next thing is wedding ceremony, shared residence, shared experiences. These are some of the examples of the bona fides that you can use, or evidence to show that your marriage is real. Okay, so now we are on the fraud referral sheet. We're sharing the screen on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you can join in there if you are not already on there. So let's look at this fraud referral sheet for cases. This is what USCIS, an example of a fraud referral sheet that USCIS uses for a Stokes interview. So it's titled Memorandum for Stokes Unit. So there's a Stokes unit, typically a Stokes unit, and that's where they are doing all these interviews and conducting the interviews, compiling, comparing the answers, and making sure that your answers match up. The first thing is whether, petitioner or beneficiary, where they are unusually nervous and confused. So you go for your interview. Let's say you have a marriage-based green card interview. Your interview is scheduled and you attend the interview. And by the time you are already entering the room with your wife or your husband, one person is sweating, like really shaking, visibly shaking and sweating and very nervous. Some people are just not able to hide. Some people are not good actors. And some people are scared, of doing the wrong things, even though they go do it anyway. The US citizen spouse may have collected some $20,000 and now is very nervous, like, okay, what if things go wrong? The green card, the foreign national also has paid a lot and is like, oh God, my investment, and could be very nervous that things could go wrong or whatever. So they are looking at all these cues. So if you are unusually nervous and or confused, that's a red flag for them to refer you to the Stokes unit for a fraud investigation. The second thing is where the spouses don't know each other's birthdays. They don't know each other's names. Let's say your first name, they're not even able to pronounce it well. I've seen cases where some spouses, they've come to us after the fact and they didn't even know how to pronounce or even knew that their spouse had a local name, a local African name, or some Indian name, or whatever. They are unable to spell it. They're unable to pronounce it. Sometimes they don't even know this name even exists. That's a major red flag, because if somebody is your spouse, you should know their name. And I mean, there's some people that they get married to different cultures, right? So an American man, I don't expect that he may be able to pronounce a typical Ghanaian, maybe an Akan name properly. But when it's genuine, you don't even need anybody to tell you, this man is trying to pronounce it. He knows what he's saying, is very proud of his wife's name. But where the other spouse can, visibly is unable to pronounce or just looks uncomfortable pronouncing, then that's a red flag. If you don't know the street names of the closest intersections, for example, like where you live, what's the next street name? What is the major grocery store near you? What is the major like gas station? Is it a 7-Eleven, or is it what type of gas station? How far is it? How near is it? All these types of questions are things you should know. The next one on the fraud referral sheet is where petitioner or beneficiary does not know how to get to or from the marital address and employment. So if you're saying you live at 56th Street on New York, right? Or 56th Street in New York, and you work at a bank, let's say Apple Federal Bank, you don't know how to get to your workplace from the address you said you live at. This clearly implies that you don't live at that address, and you typically don't leave that address to work, which is why you don't know the route or the way to get to your workplace from that address. So these are questions that they could elicit. If petitioner does not know the beneficiary's daily schedule, or vice versa, beneficiary doesn't know petitioner's daily schedule, what does he do? What's the first thing he does when he wakes up? For some people, it's to read their Bible. For others, it's to go on social media. Others, it is maybe they work out, they go to the gym. For others, maybe they have a gym in their home, so that's where they go. Others go running. Others, the first thing they do when they wake up is to watch the news or to eat breakfast. So everybody has a schedule, a typical schedule they follow. So if you guys are separated, husband is separated from wife, and wife says that, oh, my husband, first thing he does, he wakes up always at 5 a.m. and he has, apple cider vinegar, and then he goes running for about an hour and he comes back. And husband says, oh, yeah, I usually wake up by 5:15. I typically just detox. He doesn't mention apple cider vinegar, but you can see there is the meeting of minds there, right? Wife has said something similar. And then I go running for about 45 minutes, an hour and a half. That's along the lines of, okay, good, consistent answers there, right? But if they ask wife and wife says, okay, my husband in the morning, as soon as he wakes up, he makes his coffee and then starts work because he does remote work. He sits down at his home office and starts work. And then husband says, oh, when I wake up, I go for a run every single morning. That's a problem right there. That's a clearly discrepant answer. So once you have these type of discrepancies where you don't know what the daily schedule, morning routine, and somebody on Instagram said this, that's very true. What side of the bed does your partner typically sleep at? Okay, so if the wife is sleeping on the left side, husband is on the right side, and each of you in separate rooms claim you sleep on the left side. So are you guys sleeping on top of each other? So, well, when you are responding to annoyed, perhaps it could be that you guys sleep on top of each other every single night if both of you are sleeping on the left side. But that is a little bit incredible, so you want to be aware of some of these things, because I tell you what, even genuine marriages, sometimes you have to go over some of these questions because you might not remember, you may not know. And for immigration, a lot of the times when they start getting these discrepancies, then they start reading a lot into even genuine relationships. Somebody on Instagram said they asked what color was her husband's toothbrush. Another person said they asked who wakes up first. Absolutely. So all these questions they could ask you. Okay, so daily schedule. Then the next, so if you are preparing for your marriage green card interview, you want to make sure you are abreast with what your husband does, what your wife does. The next thing is, if they don't share a common language or they have difficulty communicating, that's another one for the fraud referral sheet. If there's a significant age difference, that's another one for the fraud referral sheet as well. You guys keep dropping your comments. I'm seeing them and we'll be reading questions soon. Okay, then another one is, so there's a lot of information on this fraud referral sheet. So I don't think we'll be able to go through all of them, but I would likely, maybe we can do another video another time. Then, this one is another major one. Where there is a lack of chemistry or negative body language. You guys, I tell you what, these immigration officers, they are trained to read body language. And sometimes, look, sometimes it's just so clear also. The way some people behave, you can tell that, there's just something odd about this couple. Remember, again, they interview hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people every month. And so where there's that genuine connection, they can usually tell. But I'll tell you what, again, sometimes these immigration officers are flat out wrong. They have their own impression of what a marriage should look like or what romance should look like, but it may not necessarily be everybody's culture or everybody's personality or everybody's way of showing love or the way people react in their own relationships. So again, the fact that there's a lack of there's a lack of chemistry does not necessarily mean that a marriage is a fraudulent one. Bear in mind that this is usually a totality of the circumstances, and there's a legal standard by the preponderance of the evidence, 50% likely to be true. So it's not just one thing that will get you to the fraud unit. It's usually a group of things together. When they look at certain things together, or they look at everything overall, it looks like your case warrants a referral to the fraud unit and further investigations. Okay, so let's go. So lack of body chemistry. Again, this is not to say go to the immigration interview and start French kissing and just overdoing things, but just be yourselves. If you hold hands, generally you can do that. Some husbands just like to rub backs or rub their wives, hands, or just there's just, you can tell. Usually when you I realize, guys, let me tell you one test. We've done this a lot for so many people. And one of the things I've realized about couples when we're preparing them, because we do mock interviews before they go, we appear with them at the US immigration. And when we're preparing them, one of our favorite questions to ask is, tell us how you met. And it's always like, I haven't yet met a couple that doesn't smile or laugh about how they met, or like they just get it, just the nostalgia, the feeling. You see, they immediately warm up and they start talking about how they met. It just makes them smile. Even if they fought or whatever, that like how they met, usually it's a very nice story that brings them together. So officers are sometimes looking at these cues. Okay, tell us how you met. And it's like, okay, you are very detached and you are telling how you met. It's like there's no emotion. And even when you are pretending, they could read some of these signs. So if you do this a while, you can always, there are certain things, cues that you look out for in the way that couples answer questions. Okay, so let's go. Guys, this is just a conversation, like we're just chit-chatting, nothing formal. So just drop your comments, your thoughts, and let's make this interactive. Okay, so let's go. It says where petitioner doesn't know how beneficiary entered the US and when beneficiary entered. And then there's another pointer where petitioner or beneficiary looks at the other person to supply an answer. Okay, let's say they ask you, what's your husband's mother's name? And you don't know your husband's mother's name. That's your mom-in-law, your mother-in-law, right? So that is clearly an issue that the officer is going to not be happy with. It's going to cause him to question what's going on. So there are certain things that they want both of you to be comfortable answering, or whoever has been asked the question needs to answer, because sometimes the officer could ask wife, what's your husband's birthday? Or husband, what's your wife's birthday? Or where does your wife work? Or whatever. They could just ask these questions. They could throw the question at anybody just to be able to see that there is a bona fide relationship. Then there's also a pointer. I'm jumping some of them. Petitioner or beneficiary trying to signal spouse at a particular point in time. When they are asked about something and there's somebody says the wrong thing and you're trying to signal, say, no, it's as if you're cheating in an exam. They don't want that type of thing. Be natural. If husband has made a mistake and it's like, did you forget that? Just be natural. Don't try to because again, you could be recorded. The officer is really looking at body language and everything. Okay. A lot of these issues are dealt with if you do a very good preparation, a thorough preparation before you go. Don't go unprepared. Okay. Now the next thing is a pointer, wedding bands. Usually some of the officers are looking at perhaps matching wedding bands, whatever they are looking at. If there's something off there, they're going to note it there, and it could be a subject of potential fraud referral. Petitioner, okay, this we mentioned. Petitioner or beneficiary didn't know the name of spouse or children, the name of spouse's children, or where and who they live with. This is another major one that we've seen in notices of intent to deny. If people, let's say, let me give you a typical scenario. A US citizen gets married to, you guys, if you can see me, hear me well, please just drop me a thumbs up emoji. Drop me a thumbs up emoji. I have a feeling Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube cannot hear me because there's just no, that the comments are not coming in anymore. But I see comments on Instagram, TikTok. Please drop me a thumbs up emoji if you guys can hear me good. So here's a typical scenario. Somebody gets married to, let's say, a Ghanaian man, an example, a Nigerian man gets married to a Black American woman. And the Ghanaian man has, let's say, I don't know, maybe 3 children. Okay, 3 children. And he had these children before he entered into the marriage with a Black American woman. The Black American woman goes for the interview and doesn't know the names of the children. And then if they're separated, they ask the Black American woman, for example, or even the American or white American woman, doesn't even matter if it's white or Black, or even another Ghanaian or another Nigerian, doesn't matter. They ask him, okay, they ask the woman, where do these children live, or who do they live with? Then she says, I think they live with grandma. And then husband in another room says, oh, they live with their mother. That's a problem. That is a problem, because if you guys are truly married, I mean, you would be interested in your husband's children. Oh my gosh, what happened? It looks like Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what's going on now. It looks like my internet connection on Facebook and LinkedIn went off. So let's reconnect. Oh my goodness. Let's reconnect and see how this goes. I have no idea why this happened, but please bear with me and let's try to reconnect. Now I have to go through several hoops just to be able to get back on. Hold on, everyone. Oh my gosh. Okay, I see what the problem is. I see what the problem is. It looks like 2 people from my technical team have been were logged in, and so we were logged out of. Let me just call them to log out now so we can reconnect on Facebook. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this. Okay, so you guys just give us a couple minutes and we're going to, please log out now. I've been logged out of YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, because there's too many. Please log out and have Prince also log out. Thank you. Yes, log out of StreamYard.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm not sure why StreamYard is just so funny. How do you just log me out after, the device that is actually live and talking? Oh my gosh. I'm not sure why this is, okay, let's go back to Chrome. I think this could work. Okay, let's see here. Okay, it looks like we're here. Okay, great. Okay, looks like we're here. Facebook, can you guys see me? Oh, okay, good. All right, great. Sorry. Okay, great. They can see me now. Okay, for some reason, everything just went off and got blacked out. Okay, what were we talking about? Okay, so wife, you don't know who the children live with. I mean, that is a major red flag. And sometimes they could even ask who picks up the children from school. What school do they attend? Things about the children that's your stepchildren, right? They want you to know things about your husband's children or your wife's children. Because if you clearly are in a bona fide or genuine marriage, then that shouldn't be a problem. So that's another thing that we deal with quite a lot. You don't know who your spouse's sibling is, what their names are. Okay, let's move on to the next. It looks like there's a lot on this fraud referral sheet. And okay, Prince Fiajibe, thank you so much. Okay, on Facebook, thank you for that feedback. All right, let's go on to that because there's just a lot of information on this fraud referral sheet. Um, Another major one, let me talk about it, is if the petitioner and the beneficiary have different addresses on the DMV, their driver's licenses, their ID, driver and motor vehicle ID, on their licenses, different addresses, major red flag, and you are claiming you live in the same house. Okay. Apart from this, I've shared several videos about the US using a lot of databases, and these days AI to be able to analytics. They have databases, they know where some people's mails are going and whatnot. So you want to be careful. If you don't live at the same address, please don't say you live at the same address. It's better to explain why you don't live at the same address than to pretend you live at the same address. If you are caught, then it becomes a problem for you. So different addresses on DMV ID, that's another reason to refer your case to the fraud unit, especially if you try to hide it. If you didn't hide it, you were upfront and you have explanations credible, then generally that should be fine. And you can see an end to the different addresses, right? Because as I always say, couples don't always live together. Sometimes one person can be in New York for school, another person can be in Iowa for work. And they're going to be done with school in 6 months and then reunite at the marital residence very soon. But where you are perpetually living apart, there's no plan, there's no reason for living apart, there's no marital residence, then that could be a problem. Okay. Where petitioner or beneficiary files taxes as single. This is another major red flag that we see a lot. You go to the tax preparer and they tell you, oh, because you're undocumented, let your wife file as single and you file as single. You have to have the correct or proper marital designation. You should be properly characterized. If you're married, you must file as married filing separately, married filing jointly. It's up to you, but make sure that your tax preparer doesn't give you bad advice, wrong legal advice. Because if you file as single when you are in fact married, then that could potentially affect your immigration application. Okay, so yeah, we're able to help with all these issues. Just make sure that you contact us if you are applying for a marriage-based green card, you need help with interview. This is a brilliant question. Prince Picasso, he says, please, during interviews, is there any reason to check cell phone of applicants? And I will tell you, please do not allow an interviewing officer to check your personal cell phone. Cell phones can be checked at the CBP, port of entry. If you're coming into the US, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. If you are coming into the US and you are seeking admission, for example, as a visitor or as a student, then the Customs and Border Protection officer, CBP officer at the airport, when you come in, and they take you from primary inspection to secondary inspection, they can take your phones, devices, and look through everything in there. When you're going for a US immigration interview, not so. But as much as possible, please don't take your mobile devices to the room. And don't agree to officers checking your phone. I've had cases where the people went alone. Again, if you are with an attorney, they will not dare ask this question, because you have presented evidence that they can consider. Why do they want to now check your phone? People go into these immigration interviews and they're intimidated, and then they say, okay, check my phone. And then these officers start browsing through WhatsApp, and their keywords they're searching in WhatsApp. And then they're looking at, text messages, they're looking at photos, they're looking at emails, just anything they can get their hands on to nail you and to just say your marriage is fraudulent and to make a case against you. Look, they're already looking to deny your case. So if you make it easy for them, they're going to deny it. So tip number one, please just to avoid any confrontation, because I know that you are the one seeking the benefits, and the immigration officer has a lot of power in that interview. So you don't want to displease him or incur his wrath. And so when he says, "Oh, can I see it?" You may be chicken and say, "Okay, sure. Here, have my phone." I'm sorry, it looks like you don't want to do that. So just don't take, if you know you are not bold enough, or you just don't want to make the situation uncomfortable, please just leave your phone at home. I have also had or dealt with cases where the applicants actually left their phones in their car, and immigration officer said, okay, go get the phone and come back. This is insane. Please just leave the phone in Neverland. Don't even, if look, as much as possible, don't take the phone near that building. Don't even let it come in the conversation. Okay, you don't have your phone. Your phone is not available. You didn't come here with the phone. And then you can redirect the officer to the record. You've submitted evidence on the record. You see, that is exactly why you need an attorney, because there are certain things that we there are certain things that you cannot say, and there are certain ways to say certain things. You want to combine law and wisdom, right? Because yes, you know you're right, but at the same time, it's the officer that's going to adjudicate. Obviously, if he steps over his boundaries, we can report him to a supervisor, or challenge the decision and whatnot. But yeah, as much as possible, just don't take your phone to the interviewing room. Okay. So now I saw this case law and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited about this quote. In the case of United States versus Edwards, green card as motivation for marriage. So a good faith marriage motivated only in part by immigration benefits is not illegal. So this quotation is from the case of US versus Edwards. Seventh Circuit decided this case in 2017. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a good one. Let me tell you what it means. It means that if you have two suitors, right? If you have two suitors, both of them check the box of handsome, 6 feet tall, dark, muscular, and one is undocumented, and the other one is a passport baby. He has a US citizen passport or has US citizenship, and you are undocumented. There should be no reason stopping you, no legal or no US immigration reason that should stop you from going for the one with the US passport. The law allows it. The law allows it. So long as the motivation to get into the marriage was not only based on his citizenship or his immigration status, it was based on other things plus his immigration status. So the immigration status is a bonus, right? It's an icing on the cake, because you are in love with this person, and in addition to that, oh baby, he's a US citizen. So that gives you a green card, or that allows you to apply for a green card. That is perfectly allowed. What the law doesn't allow is that your marriage is motivated only by US immigration benefits. That is marriage fraud. Okay. So if it's motivated in part by US immigration benefits, and motivated in part by the guy's financial status, motivated in part by his sexual prowess, motivated in part by his ability to speak in tongues and pray, motivated in part by his big ambitions and big six packs, or whatever that makes your Google go gaga, then that is fine. But that's it right there. Green card as motivation for marriage. A good faith marriage motivated only in part by immigration benefits is not illegal, meaning it is legal if your good faith marriage is motivated only in part by immigration benefits. All right, guys. So I love this quote so much. Um, Now let's talk about what the fraudulent marriage prohibition is. If you are ever found to have engaged in marriage fraud, then you will never ever get any US immigration benefit. You won't get a green card ever. This is what section 204C of the Immigration and Nationality Act says. It says the act prohibits the approval of a visa petition filed on behalf of an alien or an immigrant or a foreign national who has attempted or conspired to enter into a marriage for the purpose of evading immigration laws, or kind of avoiding immigration laws in simple language. The director will deny a petition for immigrant visa classification filed on behalf of any alien for whom there's a substantial and probative evidence of such an attempt or conspiracy. Right there, you see the legal standard. I'll tell you. Now, look at this very well. When you're filing any immigration any type of legal, if you are in court, you are trying to prove a case, or you are in court for any case, there's always the burden of proof, there's a standard of proof, right? For general immigration applications, the burden of proof, the initial burden is on the foreign national and the US citizen spouse to show that they are eligible for the green card. Burden is on you. It's not the US government who's going to prove your case. You got to prove your own case to the government. Show them why you deserve a green card. Show them why you qualify for a green card. Now, when the government says that they've done that, they've referred you to the Stokes interview, they have your discrepancies, they have all these answers that don't match up. They've done their site visits, they visited your home, they visited your workplace, and now they're like, it looks like this is marriage fraud. The burden then shifts from you, the petitioner, and pretty much the petitioner. And then it now moves to the US government. And the burden also, at the time it's with you, the foreign national and the couple, it's by a preponderance of the evidence. 50% is likely to be true. More than 50% is likely to be true that the marriage is real. Okay. When it shifts to the government, the standard is no longer by preponderance of the evidence. The government has to prove by substantial and probative evidence that there is marriage fraud. Substantial and probative evidence. Substantial means major, right? The substance. And probative means that it's going to prove, or it's probative, meaning it's going to, prove a particular assertion. It proves it, or it gives reason why that assertion is true. Okay, so the substantial and probative evidence is more than a preponderance of the evidence, but less than clear and convincing evidence. These are all legal analysis. I won't bore you with that. Okay, so again, with marriage fraud, they don't need to convict you of it or prosecute you for it. The evidence of the attempt or the conspiracy must be contained in your record or your alien file, your A file. Okay, so that's when it can be said that you have been involved in marriage fraud. Don't forget the standard. Sometimes I'll tell you again, the government makes mistakes. The government does make mistakes about, they can see a combination of things and then determine that, oh, this is marriage fraud. And then sometimes it's not marriage fraud. Other times also, they're just not able to meet their burden of proof. They need to be held to that burden of proof. So they cannot just make sweeping assertions and claims without backing it with a relevant evidence. They now have to prove that your case is a fraud case, and you can sometimes fight their assertions or their allegations. Okay, so don't just take, marriage fraud findings if the government puts this on you. Let me unshare. Okay, great. All right, guys. It's been such a pleasure hosting this and just seeing everybody. Let me know what your questions are. Let's see if we have some question. Oh, Prince, thank you so much. Prince said, you know your craft, sis. Thank you so much. LinkedIn, if you guys can see me and you are on LinkedIn, please give me another thumbs up. If you guys can see me, if you guys have been here throughout and this has been informative, drop me a thumbs up and let me see. Drop me a thumbs up. Let me see that you guys have benefited from this video. So you can ask some questions related to the topic of the day, but otherwise I can take questions from other people. Okay, visa lottery coming up soon, registration in October. We're going to make a post about it, and you guys can see what you need to gather if you want to partake in the American Visa Lottery, DV Lottery program to get a green card to enter the US. Drop the thumbs up if this has been an insightful session. Keep dropping the thumbs up. I see lots of thumbs up coming in from Instagram, from Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube. Okay. And then there's somebody asked a question. Let me just answer a couple questions and I can hop off. KK Amwa on Instagram says, does having a Japan visa increase your chances of getting a US visitor's visa? Absolutely. And I think I recorded a video on this, like the 3 tiers of getting other types of visas. So tier 3 is these Asian countries, United Arab Emirates, Japan, China, Asia. And then tier 2, if you visited Europe, you have Schengen visas in your passport. Then tier 1, obviously, if you visited the US before or even Canada, that's amazing. Those things are really helpful to show that you have travel experience, depending on in your case, you said a B2 visa, you have ties to your country, you've left your country and you've come back to your country. So it's always very helpful. If you cannot go to Japan or any of these countries, just visit Togo, South Africa, even Africa. It's also good evidence, and then you can keep going. Okay, Adetunji Fumilayo. I'm sorry. Adetunji Fumilayo. Can age gap serve as a red flag? For example, 60-year-old woman marrying 40-year-old widow lady. So yes, I think I mentioned that was on the fraud referral sheet. It can absolutely serve as a red flag, but the age gap you just mentioned here is not that much of a red flag, because remember, there's also sugar daddies. So it happens. Some older men like really young girls. So it's you can get by with even a 40-year gap. It is about the totality of the circumstances, right? A totality of the circumstances. So Ernesta Champong on LinkedIn says, in 10 cases, what percent would you say results in marriage fraud? I'm not sure I understand your question. What do you mean? Do you mean what triggers a marriage fraud investigation, or what causes people to get involved in marriage fraud? What is the incentive of people getting involved in marriage fraud? Please clarify your question. I'll be happy to try to answer it. Now, the incentive for people trying to get into marriage fraud, obviously, the US is the, again, number one destination for all immigrants around the world, undisputable evidence. It's unopposed. Now, apparently, there's over 158 million people trying to enter the US from around the world. And each year, there's just a very tiny percentage. I don't know if the statistics, I think is 0.02 or whatever, that are allowed to come into the US. A really, really tiny percentage of people. And so marriage to a US citizen, that is the fastest way to get a green card. Fastest, less stress way to get a green, least stressful. I'm sorry. I think I'm very hungry. Least stressful way to get a green card. So people just want to get a green card. They want to live their American dreams. Their countries are not giving them the opportunity. So they come here for, to try to get a green card, and sometimes they get involved in marriage fraud. I'm not sure if that was your question, but yeah. Um, Yeah, okay. So Prince Picasso says, thanks for all the clarity. Please, before interview, does immigration do a background check on applicants like place of work? Absolutely. There are several cases where we've handled where immigration actually they can sometimes subpoena your employment records or come to your place of work and they go and check to see on your employment records, did you state that you were single or married? Who did you list as your emergency contact? On your insurance at work, did you say you were married? A spouse's name there. So they do those investigations. And they could visit you at your workplace just to ask questions or whatever. So yeah, absolutely. They do that. They do what's called site visits. They can visit your home. Um, Okay, so TikTok is also trying to log me out now. They're saying we've done about an hour. Let's see what's going on here. I think we're about to wrap up. Oh gosh. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, I'll answer some questions soon. Oh, okay. Okay, I've been able to verify back. So we're back live on TikTok. Sorry, TikTokers, they asked me to verify again. So they can do those site visits. And sometimes they can visit your mother-in-law's house, your husband's mother, your husband's sister, and then they will ask, do you know that your son is married? What's the wife's name? They can ask all these questions. And if a lot of the time, some people feel like, okay, I'm just doing a deal, like a $30,000 deal as a U.S. citizen to earn a back. I'm not telling my mom that I'm married. They go to U.S. immigration goes to mom, and mom is like, my son has never been married. He's not married. So those are the type of things that could cause problems for you, unless you're able to explain why. Because for some people, it's like, okay, I may not have a good relationship with my mom. Why did you go ask her? I don't tell her everything. That could be an explanation. You have to back it with evidence. And again, you're trying to make the officer believe you. So let me see. How frequently marriage fraud occurs? Out of 10 marriage, how many? Oh, okay. Anita Mesa says, how frequently does marriage fraud occur? For example, out of 10 marriages, how many are considered fraudulent? Okay, thank you for that question. Guys, let me tell you, there are some countries that are on the radar for marriage fraud. There are some countries that are on the radar for marriage fraud. Okay. So I don't want to name countries, but for my line of work, there are certain countries or some people from certain countries I work with, and immigration gives them a really hard time. There are other people from other countries, and immigration gives them almost a pass. Okay. So people from Canada, if they're doing a marriage based green card, they don't get as much resistance as people from Ghana or Nigeria or some of these or India or Afghanistan or some of these other countries. There's some of the countries that are known for marriage fraud. So it's very hard to give statistics because I don't work with USCIS, right? So I don't know how many they are determining to be marriage fraud cases. But these days they are really cracking down on marriage fraud. So there is quite a number. There is quite a number of these cases that are found. All right, guys. So TikTok, we had the highest number on TikTok, over 100 people watching, and Instagram a little less than 100. Well, we had at peak points a little less than 100. LinkedIn, Facebook is they didn't really show up, but that's okay. Let's see. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in this live video. We've done exactly an hour. You may call us. I should have put my our phone number there. I have no idea why our phone number is not showing up, but let me just put it here right now. 802-780-0564. So you can just Google as AK Poku Law and you'll find that information everywhere. If you are outside the US, obviously the code 001, then 802-780-0564. Martin Garner says on Instagram, says, my friend was gay applying for asylum. He now found an American citizen. Will this be possible? It will be absolutely possible. So again, sexuality is fluid. Sexuality is not cast in stone. You can be bisexual. You could have been bisexual 2 years ago, and now you've found yourself and you realize you're no longer bisexual. You are straight. And so that is absolutely possible. It just depends on the record and how we're able to weave out your story to be able to present the information to immigration. But if he lied, then that will be a problem, because submitting a frivolous application or an untrue application for asylum, what happens is that if you are found out, you'll be permanently barred from ever getting an immigration benefit. So these rules are very harsh, okay? They're very, very harsh. So you want to make sure that, yes, the US citizen can certainly file for him, but I don't recommend they go ahead without speaking with an attorney. So I certainly recommend that they do, because these questions will be asked. You said you were gay. They'll look at the content. And withdrawing the asylum application will not resolve the issue, because this is on the record. Whatever application you withdraw, the immigration officer is still free to review and evaluate that as part of your record for your next application. So that cannot be, that cannot resolve the issue. Okay, guys, I would love to continue answering questions, but I have to hop up. Maybe I should answer the last one. Can one be denied citizenship even after having 10 years green card for marriage fraud reasons? If so, can the green card? Yes, this can happen. This is Ms. Boham. You can't be denied citizenship after a 10-year green card for marriage fraud. Absolutely. I see that all the time. People, one of the cases I saw, let me tell you guys about it. So this person actually applied for a green card. I think he was engaged in some marriage fraud. And then he got a green card and he applied for citizenship. When he applied for his green card, what he did was that he did not list all his children, because some of the children had been born after he got married to the US citizen, right? So let's say he got married to the US citizen in 2020. 2022, he gave birth to a fresh baby with his real wife somewhere. So he didn't list the 2022 baby on the green card as his child. He didn't even list it. Now, when he applied for citizenship, he had forgotten to list this child and submitted his tax returns, and they could see that the child was claimed as a tax on the tax return. That is how they busted him and they started investigations. In such a case, they will typically refer you to the fraud unit and then sometimes issue you with an NTA, notice to appear in immigration court for deportation proceedings, to be commenced against you. So that happens a lot. I have so many scenarios. I've seen so many cases where these things are happening. So yes, you can get your green card. You can be here for 30 years. You try to apply for citizenship, and then there's something that triggers them to look into your case, and then they find an issue. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. Please don't forget to like this video, drop a thumbs up if you found it insightful, share this, and if you need our help, as always, we're here to help. 802-780-0564. Feel free to just Google AK Poku Law. You'll find us, and you should be able to easily reach out to us. If you call us and we don't pick up, please text us, leave a voicemail. We'll return your call as soon as possible. Thank you, guys. I'll see you all in our next video. Take care. Bye.